Have you ever heard of an otome game? No? Well, I don't blame you because it's very niche. An otome game is usually a romance-based video game. Normally, it's a visual novel with a female main character. Of course, indie games might have more options for main characters. They're usually Japanese-based, but in this case we're about to talk about, the company is Korean. The point of otome games is to choose certain dialogue options, and whatever you choose will affect the ending of the game, whether you'll get with the male love interest or not. In most cases, there are multiple male love interests you can choose from. Though again, with some indie or mobile games, women or non-binary love interests may be available. I've recently fallen into this genre of video game in 2024, though I had previously played one of these games during high school without realizing there were other games like it. This game is called Mystic Messenger. Mystic Messenger was a very rare case of an otome game getting mainstream attention. This is most likely because of its premise being pretty new at the time. The story begins with the MC downloading a mysterious app that she found. She then receives a text from someone named Unknown. They claim they found a missing phone with this messenger app on it. They say the app has an address and ask the MC if they could go to the address and find the owner of the missing phone for them. The MC must be the most gullible person on the planet because she chooses to go to this address. This is not the only time this game will make no sense logically, so get ready. Once there, the MC is dropped into a chat room filled with people who seem to be part of a charity organization. These are the love interests of the game that you get to choose from. The leader of this organization, a man the others call V, makes the decision that the MC must stay at the address because it has classified information that could be dangerous towards her and the organization's clients. So naturally, while the MC is stuck there, they hire her as the charity party organizer. The MC falls in love while also finding out some secrets about this charity group. I know it's crazy, right? But Jen, what makes this premise so appealing, you ask? Well, what made it so popular was the way you make choices in this game is you choose what to text the love interests in the messenger chat. That's right, it's designed like you're texting them in real time, which makes the characters feel more real. Many people started playing the game ironically, but then slowly started feeling real emotions for the characters, aka me. That is what happened to me. The texting format feels so personal, and no other otome game, console or mobile, had done it before. Now that you know a little about the game and why it was so liked, I'm going to explain why I'm here today yapping about it. I'm going to start a series on my channel where I rank every love interest route in every otome game I've played so far. Mystic Messenger was the first one, so it's the first one on the chopping block. No one will see this because the otome community is tiny, but if no one else is going to make this content, then gosh darn it, I will. Here is my ranking of the Mystic Messenger routes. Number 7, Yoo-Sung Kim. I'm going to try and give background on these characters without spoiling too much. Yoo-Sung is a college student who's addicted to video games, specifically a game called LOL, which is a parody of the real-life game League of Legends. Yoo-Sung used to be dedicated to his studies, but has lost motivation since the recent death of his cousin Rika. Rika was the former founder of the charity organization that our MC ends up in. It's called RFA, Rika's Fundraising Association. Now he procrastinates his life away in the world of LOL. That is, until he meets the MC and finds a reason to change and mature as a person. Now, this character arc sounds great on paper, right? But we must remember that otome games are very much anime adjacent. They're drawn in the anime style. They're usually made by Japanese companies. A lot of them have anime adaptations. And with that, means that they share a lot of tropes that you can find in anime. As we know, if you're an anime fan, not all of those are great. Some of them are very problematic. And a trope that Yoo-Sung's character arc shares with anime is one that always puts a character at the very bottom for me, sadly. And that trope is the incest trope. Yes, you heard me right. So, what I must explain going forward with this game is that Otome games in general usually have problematic roots here and there, and I think the point of this is that some people want to explore like darker roots in the safety of their own home and like experience that romance without putting themselves in danger. So if you like that, if you like those taboos, I'm not judging you. Do what you gotta do, but for me personally, those roots never are my thing. So if there's something like incest or a yandere or just abuse, then I'm usually not going to enjoy it. And this is the case with Yusung. So Yusung, a lot of the time when he's with you, and I must remind you, the point of an Otome game is to get with the character that you're trying to romance romantically, obviously, right? So a lot of the time when you're having these romantic scenes with Yusung, he often reminds you that you look a lot like Rika or act a lot like Rika, who I must remind you again is his cousin. In a romantic setting, he's saying that he thinks of Rika when he looks at you or thinks about you. I don't know about you, but that gives me really weird vibes. It gives me incest vibes. To the game's credit, they never outright say that Yusung is in love with his cousin, or was in love with his cousin, I guess, but they never deny it. And the whole point of his arc is him trying to grow up and be a man, and one of the ways he does that is by letting go of his feelings for Rika, whether they were romantic or not. So honestly, for me, it's just a little too weird, and it immediately puts him at the bottom of the list. I am so sorry to Yusung stans out there, but I just can't do it. And this is a me problem, but usually with characters that are very like sunny and bubbly, which Yusung is. He's very much the like puppy dog, bubbly like character out of the group. He's the most young and youthful. I usually get bored. I just find that type of character very boring unless they have like some backstory behind them or trauma, things that they have to work through. If they're like smiling but under all the smiles there's stuff going on with them in their life, then I find it interesting. But Yusung does have like, you know, the trauma of his cousin dying, but sadly the incest kind of like makes that all like go like it takes away any sympathy I would have had for him, and because of that there's nothing really else for me to be interested in. He's just the smiley, bubbly, like insecure character. I don't really know what else to like about him. So sadly, he is staying at number 7 for now. Number 6, Ray. Hey, if you have never played Mystic Messenger, I would suggest skipping number 6 and going straight to number 5, because I simply can't get around the spoilers with this route. Alright, for all of the seasoned Mystic Messenger fans, my number 6 pick is Ray. Ray is the person behind Unknown. In his route, he convinces you to come to his cult to test out a new app he built. Yes, you heard me right. Cults are involved. The app he speaks of is actually the RFA group chat. He claims all the people you are talking to are just characters when really you are talking to the actual RFA members. He tries to get you to join the cult, while the MC wants to help him escape and heal. Talk about darker roots. You thought Yusung's was bad? Get ready for Ray's. Now, what's interesting about Ray is that he originally didn't have a root in this game. It was added because of how popular he was and how requested it was. Originally, Unknown was basically just the villain of the game. He was popular because of mostly his design, the fact that he was a little emo boy and is an important part of another fan favorite character's backstory, which kind of made him a fan favorite character. So his route was added to the game, along with V's, who we'll talk about later. Now, I was very excited when going into this route. I was just excited that there was more being added to the game, and I also really liked his character design and wanted to know more about Ray. I quickly regretted wanting to do this and playing his route because it just wasn't for me. The main problem I have with Ray's route is the way it portrays mental illness. Now, to the game's credit, it does put a disclaimer before you play the route that none of the mental illness in this route is meant to be one-to-one with reality. And that's dandy and all, but the problem is that the mental illness they're trying to portray is very close to dissociative identity disorder, or for short, DID. DID in every media pretty much that it's been portrayed in has never been represented in a good light. It's never been really thoroughly researched, and every character that's had it in whatever media it's in has been oh, there's an evil side and a good side. There's an evil personality and a good personality. And that's not how DID works. And it just makes people think that in reality, people with DID act like this, when that's not the case whatsoever. Alters, which is what you should be calling them, not personalities, because it's not called multiple personality disorder anymore, aren't specifically evil and go out and do violence. That's just not how alters form or necessarily act. There's not a purely good alter either, and there's not always two personalities like a lot of these media like to portray. Sometimes there's way more. It just feels like no one does the research to actually wants to portray this disorder correctly. And Ray is no different, which is kind of sad. I don't think putting a disclaimer before the route really justifies that. It's just a shame. And of course, the evil personality, right, that Ray has, of course, is abusing the MC, throwing her around, starving her for weeks, trying to make her part of the cult. It's kind of crazy and really uncomfortable, and because I'm uncomfortable, I don't find it romantic, and then I just don't want to play the route ever again. I played it once and then never again. I just don't like seeing the MC thrown around like the rag doll, and then the excuse being, oh, he has another personality. That's not the real him, you know what I mean? And I don't like that the other personality, right, is this baby angel that's submissive and innocent. That just, it's weird to me. And the only reason Ray is above Yusung is because, well, at least there's no incest. At least there's that, and at least his route kept me on the edge of my seat and didn't bore me to death. The only reason he is higher than Yusung, that is not a lot of praise. So, because it's Yusung. So, Ray will be at number 6, and that may be controversial in this fandom, I don't know, but that's what I'm sticking with. Number 5, Jaehee Kang. Jaehee works for one of the other characters in this chat, Jumin, as his assistant. He's the CEO of a very large company called CNR International. Jaehee is a very tired and stressed person, which would be expected from someone who works for such a corporate company. It seems along the way of trying to reach her goal of financial security, she's forgotten what she actually wanted to do with her life. The MC tries to help Jaehee find what she's passionate about. Okay, so from this moment on, I like all of these characters. I just like some more than others. So let's talk about Jaehee. I love Jaehee. She's such a delightful character. For one, why I like her is because she's very relatable. I'm sure South Korea's work culture is way more strict than the United States one, but still, I feel like many people can relate to being stressed out or burnt out, drained from their job, no matter what it is. We've all had those moments. We've all questioned why we're still doing this. It's fine. It's fine, all right? But that is usually a very relatable story. And I also love her little quirk that she has, where she is a big fan. The way that she escapes reality is that she is a big fan of musical theater. Man, I was a theater kid and can relate to this a lot. And on top of that, she isn't just a theater fan, she is a fan of a specific actor. And this actor is also one of the love interests, and he is in the RFA chat, so they're friends. But she was a fan before they were friends. And it's Zen, who we'll talk about later. But were you a theater fan? If you didn't obsess over one specific theater actor, for me it was Jeremy Jordan and Christian Borle. No, I don't think you were. So I relate to the theater kid energy she has going on. Other than that, her arc is just very solid. Nothing crazy happens like in some of the other arcs. There's, like I said, cults involved and crazy out of nowhere plot points that are, I think, meant to keep the audience engaged. But Jaehee doesn't need that because her route is so grounded in reality and has problems that anyone can identify with that she doesn't really need all that craziness. It's kind of a breath of fresh air because of that. It's just trying to help her find her passion in life again. And it's just sweet and wholesome, and we all need some sweet and wholesome in this game, okay? The one thing dragging her down is the fact that you can't romance her. But Jen, you say to me, didn't you say in the intro of this video that the point of Otome games is that you romance the characters? Yes, I did. But sadly, South Korea, the company that made this game is located in that country, right? South Korea does not really like LGBTQ+. They really don't. So they did not, and I must remind you that the main character of this game is a woman. Jaehee is a woman. South Korea was like, no, you are only allowed to be gal pals in this game. Chariots, I did not download this game to make friends. I downloaded this game to romance all the characters, okay? And you ask, am I bisexual or pansexual? No, but I am an ally, and I will fight for the bisexual, pansexual, and lesbians, okay? Let the MC and Jaehee be lesbians and kiss, please. This is not fair. This is not fair. And this is the one thing keeping Jaehee from being even higher. If this was not a problem, she would be higher on this list. But alas, Chariots will never update the game again, and therefore will never make a route where they get together. I hate it here.
Number 4, Zen. Zen. The first route I played in the game. Zen is a budding musical theater actor. He has a good-sized fan base, but he hasn't quite made it big yet. He at first comes across narcissistic with how much he loves to show off his looks in the selfies he sends to the RFA chat. In reality, he wants nothing more than to be recognized for his talent first. He also is a hopeless romantic. He dreams of finding a life partner, but is afraid of the scandals it might cause. Finding a second half might end his growing career, though these worries start to wane when he meets the MC.
So, at first, I didn't like Zen at all. In the introduction to the game, before you choose any of the routes, Zen was really annoying to me. All he did was flirt with you without even really knowing much about you. He was very narcissistic and kept complimenting himself on how handsome he was and how he looked, and just sent a bunch of selfies to the group chat. So I really wasn't into that. But something about his character design must have caught my attention, because I decided to choose his route first. Whether it was the silver hair, his dashing suit, the red eyes, I don't know. But something clearly caught my attention. And I have to say, he won me over, clearly, because he's this high on the list. So let me start off by saying that he's an actor. I was a theater kid, so we got that going on. I was so much a theater kid that I ended up majoring in it in college, but then switching majors because I didn't want to deal with auditions for the rest of my life. But you know what? I have the respect that he wants this career to succeed so badly. And I respect that passion, so definitely I relate to his love for theater. That helps. We have a common interest. But also, I don't know, some of the set pieces in his route are just so romantic. There's one specifically I can think of where the MC and Zen are on the roof of his apartment and they're looking at the stars and he's telling you how much he loves you, and it feels like a fantasy out of any girl's dream. And eventually, due to his backstory that I'm not gonna give away, the flirting becomes more genuine and coming from a more from a deeper place, and it becomes actually romantic and not him trying to seduce you right away. It goes from weird to cute, and I really appreciate that because it shows good character development. I don't know, he just became really romantic, and I really appreciate it. Grand gestures just must be one of my love languages or something, because he's definitely a grand gesture guy. The other thing I hate to say that won me over in his route is just that it gets super chaotic. Out of nowhere, there's drama with another girl in this route. All of a sudden, there's a bomb involved. Yes, you heard me right. You shouldn't be surprised. You know there's cults involved, so therefore you shouldn't be surprised there's a bomb involved. Listen, it caught my attention. It kept me invested. What can I say? Sometimes I enjoy a little bit of chaos. So, overall, Zen's route surprised me, and that's why he's in the place he is. Number 3, V. V might be the most mysterious character in the game. Yes, even more mysterious than the character that goes under the username Unknown. V is the new founder of the RFA. He was engaged to Rika before she died. V in all the other routes is very hands-off. He doesn't share much about himself and tends to disappear a lot. He is forced to get more involved in his route when Ray brings you to the cult. V has to somehow save you from the cult while keeping secrets that might tear the RFA apart. V was one of the other characters that were added into the game later with Ray. And originally, when, V was just a side character, there wasn't really much about him, so I didn't really pay that much attention to him. Yeah, he was a little shifty, he lied a lot, he definitely had secrets behind him, and Yusung definitely was justified in being suspicious of him. I always thought that. A lot of people in the fandom saw him as being annoying for questioning V and being angry at V for not disclosing more information about Rika's death. I always thought he was justified in that, because what do you mean Rika disappeared and then we find her dead later? What? There was so much conflicting information about Rika's death. Yusung had every right to feel the way that he did and get angry about it. That's just my opinion. And even in V's own route, Yusung feelings get affirmed, which I'm gonna talk about, which is why I like V. In V's own route, V is shown to not be the best of people. We learn in a lot of the roots that Rika was definitely not a good person. She made a lot of mistakes. She was very mentally ill and kind of took it out on other people, including her partner, V. And V isn't a perfect angel either. Their relationship was kind of mutually toxic. V was kind of obsessed in trying to fix Rika, make Rika this ball of sunshine that he saw her in his head, but she couldn't be in that moment in time, and it just made Rika's mental illness worse. It just worsened, and they just weren't the right people at that time for each other, but they stayed together, and it led to very bad things that I'm not going to give away if any of you haven't played the game. That doesn't make V evil, and I like that the game doesn't make him out to be that way. Actively in his root, V feels a lot of guilt for what he did. He even feels guilt for actions that he didn't do but feels like he caused. And that shows that he is a human. He is a human, and he can make up for those mistakes. And that he does. And I love that in his root, by the end of his route, you do not get together right away with him. You don't get with him until the after ending. If you don't know what an after ending is, it's basically like showing you how the relationship has progressed after you finish the route. He has to go do some soul searching before you guys get into a relationship, and I find that actually pretty realistic for where he's at in life, and I really appreciated it. I found V a very complex character, and that's why I ended up liking him. He's definitely not my favorite because of some of the things that he did, but I can appreciate the amount of writing that went into this. Genuine writing, and how V isn't just excused of a lot of the actions that caused harm, like Ray. He doesn't have it was my other personality excuse. He has to actually live with the consequences of his actions. So there's that. I also just love the way he looks. Now, guys, I'm a simple gal. I see a pretty man, I'm gonna point it out. And the point of a lot of these games is that there's a lot of pretty men around, alright? I am a simpleton sometimes. V has gorgeous turquoise hair, and I love looking at it. And he has some good drip when the artists decide to get him out of that ugly gray cardigan. But yeah, that's my opinions on V. Moving on. Number 2, 707. 707 is a very silly boy. When MC first meets him in the intro, he's sharing memes and cracking jokes. He's very easily the most fun character to banter with. The MC learns that he's a hacker that takes care of all the information and tech for the RFA. Along with the RFA, he works for an actual hacking agency. This light-hearted tone soon changes. The chat gets hacked by the unknown character. 707 has to find out who they are in order to protect the MC from harm. 707 is the fan favorite character in the fandom, and for good reason. He's the one that makes the group chat actually feel like a group chat amongst friends. He's sending memes, he's making unhinged jokes, all the works. So naturally, he's the character that everyone wants to play first, right? Except he's stuck behind a paywall. Not a real paywall. All you have to do is collect hourglasses, which is this game's currency, in order to play him and another character who I'm going to talk about next. They are part of the deep story, the game calls it. And so you have to play the casual story with the rest of the characters first to gain hourglasses to get to play 707 and this other character. And it's the same for V and Ray. They're part of the another story. It's kind of weird and complicated, but at least it's not like a gacha system like a lot of Otome games that are on mobile have. You don't have to spend any real money if you don't want to. So, moving on from that, 707 has this, like, jokey personality that, like, everyone falls in love with. But then, later in his route, you learn that he has, like, the saddest backstory in the entire game. And it immediately pulls on your heartstrings. And what I like about it is that it is so guttural and so sudden that it catches you off guard and you're like, whoa, I didn't know this game went there, you know? And yeah, it catches you off guard. And what I like is that jokey, like, fun personality doesn't necessarily fully go away. It's shown to still be a genuine part of him. He doesn't like to lean into it all the way, because if he does, he feels his friends will be in danger because of the job he has. The job that he was forced into, hacking. And so, like, his art is learning that it's okay to be vulnerable with people. It's okay to have fun and be your genuine self. You don't have to feel like you're on edge all the time. And it's so heartbreaking because he's such a lighthearted character. You just want him to stay that way, but you know that also that he has real trauma, and the way he's reacting, which is he gets very cold towards the MC because he feels like that's the only way to protect her. Like, he has genuine reasoning for why he's acting that way, so you can't really get mad at him, and it's such a complicated issue. It's just good writing. It's good writing. It's probably the best writing in the entire game, I have to say. Even though he's not my favorite character, I will say objectively probably the best written arc in the entire game. He also has a top-tier character design. The red hair with the black and yellow glasses and the black and yellow, like, sweatshirt thing he has. Like, his yellow eyes with the spirals in it. I love a good 707 cosplayer. Everyone wanted to cosplay him back in the day, and I do not blame him. He has such a iconic character design that I feel like a lot of Otome games have tried to copy. They've tried to copy the essence of 707, but no one's ever really succeeded. I feel like they, like, try and make this, like, jokey character with a sad backstory, but, like, you just can't. If you want to replicate 707, you gotta get that internet humor down. And it just doesn't work. And you can't make an over-the-top, traumatic, sad backstory, because his backstory is rooted in reality and can actually, like, happen. Maybe not the, like, being forced into a hacker group part, but the actual, like, trauma behind that with his family is a situation that happens to people. Okay, I'll just say that. And it's, come on, don't blow it out of proportion if you want people to sympathize with the character. But yeah, 707 is a really, like, iconic character in the Otome world. I don't think he will ever be, like, replicated again. And I want to leave it like that because obviously he wouldn't be iconic if there were different clones of him. Yeah, and that's why he's at number 2. He is worthy of the fan favorite spot. Number 1, Jumin Han. Now, just because 707 is the most well-written in my eyes doesn't mean he's my favorite. My favorite route in Mystic Messenger is Jumin. Jumin is the rich CEO of CNR. V is his childhood best friend, which is why he's part of the RFA. All his life, people have shown interest in him only because he has a lot of money. He's watched his father fall into this trap over and over again. Seeing him marry and then divorce over and over again, this has resulted in Jumin having a very low interest in romance. That is, until the MC manages to melt his cold heart. That's right, my favorite character in Mystic Messenger and my favorite route is Jumin. Now, you're probably asking why I'm okay with Jumin but not okay with Rei, because Jumin has one of the most infamous bad endings in the game. But here's the thing. Rei is dark in every single ending, right? Like, in every single path in his game, he's going to be throwing you around and abusing you, right? Jumin is not so in every path in the game. You can totally avoid the bad ending where he's his most controlling, right? So that's why I don't
really mind Jumin's like I mind Rei's, right? Also, continuing on with that, I really like the main character melts the cold guy's heart. It's a trope I really love. I either love like a tall, dark, grouchy character or cold character, and then the main character just slowly makes their guard go down, and they only love her. It's just, you can tell it's one of my favorite tropes, and you can tell that Jumin is definitely, character design wise, is also my type. But let's not talk about it. I really like how the main character works with Jumin. They don't treat like his controlling like characteristics as something that like is inherently abusive, and it can be if left like talked about, but because the main character like works with him and stands her ground in the route being like, no, I need to leave, I'm sorry, whatever. And V helps out too, which I like, because they're friends, right? As a friend, he was like, no, you can't treat women like that, Jumin. You can't just tell them to stay in your apartment. That's wrong. Your trauma with all the women in your life leaving you does not make it right to treat the MC like that. And Jumin's like, yeah, I guess you're right. It's just nice to see, like, issues like that, like, talked about and steered away from becoming, like, so much worse. I don't know, it just interests me, because with Rei, it's fully excused and allowed to run rampant, but with Jumin, there's actual good endings where there is another path, and he does work on his issues and becomes a better person. I don't know, I really enjoy it. I also enjoy that he's a cat person. If you don't know this about me, I do have a cat myself. I've always grown up with cats. I love cats. So, the Jumin girlies, we're all cat people. And honestly, we might date Jumin for his cat, specifically. So, let's all be real. We all love Elizabeth III, our collective daughter. So there's that. I also love how accidentally funny Jumin is. Like, honestly, I prefer it over the memey, jokey, like, 707 humor. I love that, too. But I don't know. There's something about the way Jumin does his dad humor in the chat and thinks he's hilarious, but he's actually just being awkward. Everyone in the chat's facepalming. He's like, did I do a good one? Did I make a funny? I love it so much. And he has, like, little quirks where, like, he's really bad at picture taking. Every picture he tries to send in the group chat is, like, blurry, and no one can piece together what he's sending, and he has to explain himself. It's amazing. And the other quirk I love about him is that he is, like, a bored rich guy. He doesn't know what to do with himself, so he comes up with random hobbies to do all the time. For example, like, at one point he picks up stitching randomly. I think that's what it's called. Because he doesn't know what else to do with himself. And sometimes he'll send Jaehee to go get fantasy novels because he doesn't know what else to do, and he's like, I'm just gonna try reading fantasy novels. And I just find it really cute. And, you know, maybe he doesn't have the amazing writing that 707 has, but honestly, the trope is strong with this one for me. I find him very handsome, and I don't know, it's like he was made for me. This is what appeals to me, and he's funny to me, and that's what matters at the end of the day. This isn't your list, it's mine, so shut up. Well, that's my opinion on which routes are the best in Mystic Messenger. I've ranked them all, and now we are done. I'm gonna make a video like this for every Otome game I finish, because someone has to spread the good word of Otome. I hope you guys stick around to see them, and see you later.